Alright, friends, it's time for the Babylon's Fall overview. I've been getting asked about this constantly. You guys need to chill a little bit. Took me about 20 hours to get to this point, and I haven't like completely finished the end game, but I played the game enough to give an honest overview and mini review for it. Overall, I don't think this game is bad at all. It's definitely got its flaws for sure, which I'll go into. Uh, what bothers me the most is clickbait YouTubers controlling the narrative for this and saying things about it that are false. I think that is the biggest problem with this game more than the game itself, sadly. You know how big channels like to dogpile on games that aren't popular, especially when they come out towards games that are popular. Obviously, this game has a lot of marketing mismanagement. The fact that it's barely been advertised at all. Uh, it came out like right after Elden Ring. I think the demo for this actually came out the day of Elden Ring's release. Also, this game is kind of being cannibalized by its own publisher because Final Fantasy Origin Stranger of Paradise comes out in just a few days. Uh, that's a lot of games. That's a lot of games priced at AAA pricing to ask like the same demographic of people who like melee action games. Yeah, that's a lot to ask, and obviously they don't have any control over when Elden Ring is released. They do have control of releasing it around that same time, which obviously it's a no-brainer for most people. I don't really like FromSoft games or combat, so I'm kind of an outlier here. But I mean, you'd kind of be stupid to pick this over Elden Ring if you're looking for the same kind of game. But then Stranger of Paradise is coming out, and it has, melee action combat too, and it's coming out like a couple weeks after this. It just makes no sense. Um, First thing I wanted to talk about, there's a very big misconception with this game, that this game is pay to win. As of now, it is not pay to win. Obviously, that can change later on, but I kind of had to review the game on the way it is right now. Hold on a minute. You can tell I don't even really look at the monetization stuff in here. Basically, there's nothing in here that is pay to win. There's cosmetics. There are some things in here that can amount to player power, but the problem is it takes a long time to max out the pass. And by the time you do, like, you're going to have so many more of these materials anyway. There is no fatigue system or anything in this game. Like, this looks like it's gear, right? This is actually just cosmetic gear. You can put it over your normal gear, so you won't look like a random, like, mutant character that happens in these games when you're just trying to equip stuff that gives you the most power. These look like rare items. They're just vanity items. The only thing in here I would argue that gives you somewhat of an advantage is... Hold on. It's taking a while to load. Have some patience. There is one Divine Relic. Divine Relic is basically an item drop. This means that you get one divine item. You will get a lot of these as you progress through the game. But what's funny about people saying this game is pay to win, this right here makes it false, because the item is going to spawn or drop at whatever power level you're at. So if you paid for this, if you paid however many dollars it costs to buy their currency and get this to level 100, it would be completely useless because you're using it at the beginning of the game. So the power level is going to be low. The only thing you could do is you could use the melding mechanic to bring it up to a higher power level, but there is nothing in here that makes this game pay to win. Do not listen to anybody who says that it is. Obviously, this game is not doing well. It very well may get to the point where it is pay to win, but right now I can definitely confirm that it's not. There's nothing in here that gives you even more than a minute advantage. So the main thing about this game is it has a spectral combat system. I don't know if they have like a name for it, but basically you have your square and triangle, X and Y, whatever you want to call it. You have two inputs for those, for light and heavy attacks. So whatever you have assigned to the X button will be your light attack, and Y will be your hard attack. Now you have 4 weapons in the game currently. There's the sword, There's the hammer, there's rods, and then there's the shield. Right now, I'd say the moveset quality is a little bit all over the place because it's really only the sword is the one that feels good. There is supposed to be a new weapon later on, I think in a couple weeks, but most people seem to be running sword. Now, when you select an item, there is an ability to change the attack mode. Standard mode is the one you will start out with for pretty much the entire story. And as soon as you finish the story, well, you will get the ability to change the mode. The mode completely changes your moveset and has different gimmicks as well. That's the other thing about the clickbait stuff that's going on with this game right now is most of them probably didn't play to the point where you actually do get more depth to the combat. I'd argue that is the game's fault, though. That kind of thing should not be, locked behind playing like 15, 20 hours of a story. But I guess that's just how things work now. So the main thing here is the power level. If you played Avengers, knock on wood, if you played that game, it's actually very similar. It comes with pretty much the same amount of faults as well, although there are some things about this system that are better than Avengers. But basically, your power level determines how much damage you take and how much damage you deal in parallel to whatever the power level of the mission or the level that you're trying to do is. If you ever played Terranigma, this game has kind of the same forced grinding in that if you're below a power level, it's not like other games where, you can put like crap gear on and you can still clear it with, no damage or whatever if you're good enough at it. You can't do that in this game at all. If you're below a certain threshold, you pretty much will get one shot by everything and you'll do 0 damage. I don't really like that angle, personally. I think it would be better if it had some kind of cap to the damage and defense debuff, but it doesn't. So, for the most part, your build's not going to matter until you get to, like, probably 120, 130. At that point, you can probably stick with what you have if you have something good, and you can use this nice NPC over here. Definitely one problem with this game is how much the NPCs talk. Like, they're blabbermouths. So there are some ways to increase your power level. You can craft these, as you can see here. The power level that will drop is 86 right now, because that's a little bit above what I currently have on the character, which is 84. You can use these to increase your power level. You also can craft armor as well. So if you have a lot of materials, you can funnel them into here just to raise your power level, and then eventually it'll get to the point where you won't need to do that. You can also meld. Melding is something that I wish games like Avengers had. Like, say, I've got a 74 sword here, right? If I wanted to take these crap swords, I could increase this one to the power level, which would ensure that you can still use the item, which is actually a really nice feature. I wish a lot more loot-based games had that. So, despite how much RNG and forced grinding there is to clear the endgame content in this, you actually do have a lot of control. If you get something that you like, you can keep it around, you can save it as a favorite, and then you can meld it into a higher power level crap item and get your power level up that way. So let's do a little quick example here. Right now this sword is 81. So we're going to craft a sword. And get that up to 85. So now I go to the rebuild tab, meld. We're going to take the 81 and we're going to meld it. That's a pretty decent sword, so now it is 85. So despite how much forced grinding there is, it actually is a lot like Terranigma. Terranigma is not a game that a lot of people have played, but that game had a hidden, like, forced grinding mechanic, where if you were under the level that they set for the area that you were in, you would do no damage, but you could level up once, and if you're at that threshold, then you could do damage. It works very similarly here. I do think it's a little bit too overbearing. I definitely think it would be better if you know, maybe it capped at like 20 or 30% or something, so that like you're still at a disadvantage, but you can clear things with skill or get carried if you want. But here, you're kind of forced into it. Alright, so let's get into the gameplay now. It's the majority of the game systems. So basically there are three types of quests. There are story quests, which are the ones you'll start out with, obviously. And then there are skirmishes. Skirmishes are parts of the story quests. They're kind of like cut down and sectioned out, but they have like modifiers on them. Like these ones don't have modifiers, but if I go down here, you see I cleared all the way down to 85. Like these have electro-susceptible enemies. And also, every skirmish has drops. Like those are blueprints there. Blueprints are very useful because you can use them to craft a weapon and kind of brute force the RNG, but you can also use it to increase your power level as well, as you just saw me do. So let's do a quick one. Obviously this game's not too popular, so I don't want to like wait for a game, and I also need to be able to explain the mechanics. So we're just gonna hop into this one here. Okay, so when you're in the game, you have pretty basic Platinum game mechanics. You got a jump cancel. You have an S string. You have heavy attacks. Got a helm breaker. Launcher. Pretty standard stuff. But what's unique about this game is the spectral weapon mechanic. What this allows you to do is to basically have 4 weapons, even though your character is an average humanoid. So if I push the LT button, the hammer comes out. But what you can also do is you can charge it. And you can charge it while you're doing other actions. So I can do stuff like this. And then put out the other hammer as well. It takes a little bit more dexterity to play than a lot of other character action games. But once you get used to it, it actually feels pretty good. I wouldn't say the combat is great, but it's more than serviceable. So enemies in this game have armor, but you can combo them in other ways. Like right now, he's knocked down, so I can do a bunch of hard knockdown stuff. Why they put these guys here. On standard platinum fare, you're ranked depending on how well you do. It does not seem to affect drops. I don't even really know what the point of it is, but it's there if you like it, I guess. Seems like the threshold is, I think, 12,000 points for pure platinum. Seems like the thing that gives you the most points is just time, so if you can clear fast, you'll get platinums pretty consistently. So the mode I'm using right now is technical mode. Basically there's like just frames. When you see that shine there, it means that if I push one of the spectral weapon buttons, the character will do like, kind of like a quick charge. I think it's a lot of fun. It adds a lot of depth to the combat, even though it's not a combo game. I can tell you that right now. You still can combo things, just in kind of an unconventional way. Seems like a lot of people like technical mode, the people that play this game and got to the end game, because it actually it adds a lot of depth to the combat. Also, your damage output is pretty high too, because you're basically doing like quick charges. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's a shame that they make you play through the campaign before you can even try it. This game gets a lot better once you finish the story. Skipping the cutscenes and getting help, you could probably finish it in about, I'd say, 10-12 hours. Doing it by yourself, I think, is one of the biggest flaws in this game. Enemies actually don't scale. From what I heard, I don't know if this is true, they don't seem to scale at all unless you have 4 players in the party. So when you're playing solo, you're actually playing at, like, the slowest possible speed, which is pretty dumb. Also, if an enemy can be staggered at all, a counter-attack off a just dodge will always put them on the ground. So yes, this is not a combo game. There are ways to control enemies. You kind of have to think outside of the box, like, you know, DMC and Bayonetta. You very much can. I don't want this guy to spawn when I'm trying to explain things. It's annoying. I definitely think the enemy designs in this game are not that great. A lot of them leave a lot to be desired. Some of them just, they're just there to annoy you. Like, the guy's just shooting projectiles. Standard, annoying video game stuff. See just how slow-paced this is when you're solo. I'm tempted to just edit this out. It's really annoying. Playing this game solo is real pain. they put these guys like on the opposite ends of the map, and you can't, you just can't kill them fast enough. And everything knocks you down in this game. You can't get up fast either. It's actually a blessing in disguise this is happening, as you guys can see the bad part of this game, which is the enemy design and the pacing. Looks like it's lagging, which is even better. Even better. Like, stuff like this is just, it's just annoying. It doesn't accomplish anything. It's just irritating. For a game with enemies that don't really stagger in conventional ways, you sure get put and hit stun a lot in this game. Really strange design. Game is running really badly for some reason. I hope my recording's not going to be scuffed. I think the boss fights in this game are actually quite good. They have for the most part, they have pretty clear tells on what they're doing. I just think the amount of hit stun you get put in this game is really weird, considering you can't control enemies in the normal way you would expect from games like this. Take out the straggler here. This is why I don't play shooters, folks. Look at how bad I am at this. Well, there you go. There's some gameplay and an overview for you. I'm sorry if the quality is bad. I think my computer might be crapping out a little bit right now, but I've shown a lot of other gameplay for this. Overall, the flow of this game is not bad. It's just the solo pacing is really bad. They actually just had an event on this earlier this week where they're trying to get people to queue up for campaign. It seems like they know that the pacing is really jacked up when you're solo, even if you have a decent character like mine. I don't think this game is bad at all. I really don't. It definitely needs a lot of work, but you know, every service game is like this when it comes out. I mean, all of them are. They're devoid of content, they're flawed, some of the mechanics don't make sense. You know, in time with feedback and, you know, just more dev time in general, the games tend to be pretty good. I mean, Final Fantasy 14, Destiny 2, you know, World of Warcraft, like some of the biggest games. They launched bare bones too, and I think this game is just, it's got two main problems. The first is that corporate meddling, releasing this game not only after one of the most sought-after games of the year, also right next to right next to another game with melee action combat from the exact same publisher. It's dealing with that and just clickbait YouTubers who aren't helping things. Like, it's very clear they have not played the game. In their defense, I will say that this game makes it pretty hard to get to the point where it's fun because the story is very long, as you saw there. The pacing is horrendous when you're solo. The game is so much better when you have a party. It actually is very nice in retrospect that they don't ridiculously scale the enemies when you have more people in the party. It means that people can fulfill specific roles. There are a lot of support traits and stuff you can put on your gear. You know, coming from Neo 2, Neo 2 was kind of the opposite of this game, where having other people in the party wasn't always a good thing, just because the enemies would scale so much to the point where they actually had to nerf how much they scaled. That does not happen here, but it does not feel balanced for solo play at all. Overall, I think this is a pretty good game. I don't think it's AAA price good, not yet. The game is not pay to win. Do not listen to anybody who says that. That is straight BS. I demonstrated that at the beginning of the video. This game is not pay to win. It's not the worst game ever. No, it's not the best thing ever. But I mean, most service games aren't. They always launch bare bones and poorly designed in some ways, even if the foundation is good. I think this game has a good foundation. It's definitely better than their last attempt at doing this, which was Avengers, even though it has some of the same flaws with the power level system. What separates this game's power level system from Avengers is the fact that the enemies do not scale with you, so eventually you will get to the point where you actually feel powerful. That was one of the worst things about Avengers. The gear was not even interesting. The power level system was very similar to how it is here, but you know, the enemies scaled with you, so you never really felt powerful unless you had like a very specialized build. They give you a lot of tools to mitigate the RNG in this game. You have crafting, you have enhancing, you have melding, and you have the ability to get legendary items. Well, not legendary. Actually, yeah, legendary items is the tier below divine. You have the option of getting those pretty much every time you do a what's it called? I believe it's called a skirmish. Actually, it's called a siege. So you have a lot of ways to deal with the RNG. I think this game has a good foundation. They need to improve the cancel timings. They need to increase the pacing while playing solo, especially since the game is not doing well. And just listen to feedback. I think this game will be worth it. Right now, obviously this is a really stacked month. You know, Final Fantasy Origin drops in a few days. Elden Ring just dropped. You know, even if you have the money to play all these games, you don't have the time. So all these games are trying to get you to stick around longer. I don't know if this is worth full price right now. You could probably get it for cheap pretty soon. They'll probably do a fire sale on it. I think the best way to save this game would be to make it free to play, but not right now. Do it like after they've done like at least a couple months to a year of updates, and then maybe they can turn things around. It's not impossible for that to happen. It's improbable, I would say. But overall, the moral of the story is be careful who you watch with gaming stuff. A lot of those people, just like the big channels, they like to hop on whatever the trend is, positive or negative. This game is a negative trend. It's not a bad game at all. It's flawed, yes, but it just bothers me how some of the stuff they're saying is legit not true, and that's not cool at all. I definitely do think this game is not good content creator material, because you have to play like 15 to 20 hours before you really get to the meat of the game, which is the end game and having all the mechanics unlocked. But it's not what a lot of those people say it is. I definitely hope that you guys will form your own opinion. I'm not paid or sponsored to play this at all, so I'm giving you my exact unfiltered opinion. I don't think the game is terrible, but it needs a lot of work, and right now, in just a really stacked month of games, it's definitely a hard sell at its price. Thanks for watching.